Hello and welcome. The third night of action did not disappoint at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. We had so much happening in La Défense Arena, ladies and gentlemen. We had emotions, we had surprises, we had shocks, we had Ryan Murphy's wife turn it into a giant gender reveal party. It all happened. This is about last night.
Take your marks.
Listen to the crowd. This is a remarkable performance.
A world record, Medley. Have you ever seen anything like it?
He can't believe it, but it just happened.
Now joining me, John Mason, here today is of course once again the amazing Bailey Jackson and five-time Olympian, multiple world medalist. She even had a couple of world records to her name. We love to see it. ALIA Atkinson, it is so good to have you here.
Thank you very much. This was fun, guys.
Oh, I love to see it. Well, listen, we're going to dive right in because it was a busy night of action. So let's take a look at our first race. We're going to be recapping all the action for you at home. We started with a bang, that women's 400-meter individual medley. All eyes were on Summer McIntosh.
Yep.
Give us your thoughts, Alia.
It was amazing. We knew after her race yesterday, she loved the silver. She won it. She was excited from 2021, but she came back and got her medal this time. But she wanted the gold, and you could see it in this 400 IM, just how strong she was.
Well, that's part of what it was for me is just, you know, with the 4 AM races, we had Leon the other night, and now we have Summer last night. There's two very clear dominating forces in that race,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And Summer is doing it at just 17 years old. It's a tough race.
It is, and what we're seeing now is a switch. It's a switch of the talents and the legends. We're seeing Katinka Hosu, we're seeing Yui from Japan, we're seeing them starting to phase out, and now the new generation is coming in. Summer is the top lead now, and everybody's trying to catch her.
I mean, they were trying to, 6 seconds difference between her and silver medal. I mean, a big honorable mention going out to Katy Grimes from the USA.
Yes.
You know, I think she is an amazing talent. She's qualified not just in the pool, but in the 10K in open water as well. So what do you think of that? You know, it's almost like two different sports.
I've always found it fascinating, the athletes that can go to different events. But coming in from open water to a pool event, it's a testament to her strength and how much she has worked to prepare for this moment. Open water events is a different beast and a different type of athlete. So to come in and have a 4 IM, which sometimes we saw Ledecky going into that 400 IM, but we haven't really seen her that much in open water. So to see Katy, that's the future of where we're going.
Who are maybe unfamiliar with open water versus, in the pool, can you describe that difference? What is the biggest challenge going between the two?
So I've spoken to a lot of open water swimmers, and they're like, it's a beast because you don't know what the atmosphere will be. You don't know what the environment is. It might be warm one day, next day it's cold and rainy, or the winds and the current might pick up, and suddenly you've been practicing with the current going this way, and suddenly you're there and the current's going this way. So how you strategize and how you practice completely changes on the day. So you have to be quick, you have to be on your feet, and it's a long race. So you're doing it consistently throughout the practice, and it's different from the pool, completely.
And, all open water events, of course, are freestyle, but, to nail a 4 AM as well, that you can't have a weak stroke in a 4 AM now on the world stage, especially to be getting like a silver medal.
Yeah.
So what would that training program look like? If you're training for those endurance 10K races and then turning around and having to hit breaststroke sets and backstroke sets, like what would that look like?
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I've seen Katy do a lot of open water, but you can't do open water all the time. So when she's in the pool, she's probably working on her different strokes. I, as a breaststroker, like to go into the freestyles and the butterflies because it made my breaststroke feel a lot stronger. So I can imagine she did a lot of that just to get away from the distance, do like a couple 400 sprints. But I'm sure that she loved venturing out into the different events, and that helped her to create a great one. And she has the perseverance. So a 400, why not?
It was a battle for bronze, though. That's where the race really was, It went to Emma from the US, and of course, it was a slow start. A very slow start, I think is.
She was 0.89.
Yes.
0.89, you would see more towards the 1500, just really getting out there. But at the Olympic level, you still wouldn't see that. More than likely, who knows whether it was nerves, she didn't hear it, or whatnot. That's not typical. No. And considering she ended up getting third, the girl swam for her race.
She did.
She did.
Well, that was the 4 a.m. It was a great way to start the night. And Bailey, wasn't the atmosphere in there just incredible, just like last night?
No, absolutely. It was insane. And it was great going into the 200 meter as well for the men's.
Yeah. That was one of the races of the night for me, 100%. You know why? Because it was unpredictable.
Yeah.
You didn't know where it was going to go.
Yeah. 3 years ago, I believe, in Junior Worlds, we saw Popovici, and he had already broken the world record, and we were like so excited. And I remember speaking to him like, what does the future hold? And he's like, one day at a time. I'm going to enjoy the process, enjoy where I am, and see what happens. I'm like, that's such a mature response for such a teenager. But it was an accolade to his coaches and his staff to keep him humble, keep him in the moment. Don't look at all the things that could happen in the future, but be present and love what you're doing now. And that's what you see. And he's had a rough couple of years. In and out with that 100, still there, but not where he was. But to come back now and do it in the 200, it just meant that he was building.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
And I mean, for me, the race, you know, we had Matt Richards, had a very shaky semi-final, just scraped into the final in lane 1.
Yeah.
It was between those two. So to talk us through that, right? You're in lane 1 and lane 4, I believe it was. You can't see each other. Right, you're not really like racing alongside each other, and there was 0.02 between the finishing touch.
Yeah, unlike a distance event where you can see some more distance, or the 4 a.m., but for 100, 200, possibly the 400, they're right beside each other. So unless you're really far in front and you can see this over the splashes of everybody else, you're not seeing him. And a lot of the time, we're supposed to breathe on both sides, but people like to stick to what they like, so they would breathe to one side.
0.02, you know, that really just comes down to like a fingernail. It is so close. And it was like a straight line across that pool. You know, it really could have been anyone's. We had Lucas Martins from Germany, obviously David, Luke Hobson got the bronze medal, Duncan Scott. It was an absolutely stacked field.
Right.
Stacked.
I loved it.
And you talk about 0.02 is only 0.07 between gold and bronze.
Yes.
So with a race that close, as a swimmer, what's more exciting for you? Is it something that is just that close, or maybe something where you're way further ahead than the other person behind you?
While I'm swimming? Oh, further ahead. Yes. Further ahead. Because once you see somebody start to come up, you're focusing on your race. You're like, yes, yes. And you see somebody out of your peripherals and you're like, no, don't panic. No, you're okay. Focus on, and you see them charging and you're like, no, focus on, and then suddenly you start to die and you're like, no.
Is it hard in those moments then to stick to your race plan and not jump out of it?
So hard. That's why I always admire those athletes that know their race plan. And if, let's say the 200, like we're going to talk about later, somebody's going out for it, great. Stick to your plan because you know you can bring it back faster. But when you see them go, you want to go with them because you have the energy. But
one thing that's been interesting about Paris this year is, compared to previous Olympics is we haven't seen any world records broken. I mean, we were expecting something from Leon Marchand, we were expecting something from Callahan, and there is conversation around if the depth of the pool is affecting that. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
So the depth is different, but what I push towards, especially when you're already at Olympics, the athletic mindset when you're here is that everybody has the same situation. So as soon as you realize, oh, something feels off, you got to switch it and then just try your best and do whatever you have to do. But there are many different factors. After coming in 2021, you had COVID. So a lot of the athletes kind of struggled and a lot of them did really well. So 2021 was a breakout Olympics for a lot of athletes and they were excited to get back in the pool, excited to swim. And we saw that with the world records. This year was different. We had Doha maybe 6-8 months after Japan. So that's 2 worlds before this competition. So these athletes swam a little bit more than they've had in the past. So there are many different reasons as to what we're looking at, but we're still seeing a lot of Olympic records. So it's faster than, some competitions are faster than 2021, but it's the beginning of the competition. So we can expect to see once these athletes start to feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe they've already gotten medals, so like, okay, the first one is out, let's just have fun and go for it. We could see some later on.
Moving into another one that absolutely blew my mind was the men's 100-meter backstroke. This was fantastic to watch in there. We had some big names. We had Zhu Jiayu, Thomas Ceccon, you had the French guy, of course, Johan Ndoye-Brouard, Ryan Murphy. Thomas Ceccon got his moment. He's been a European champion, he's been world champion, short course world champion, he's now Olympic champion.
Yeah. It's always great to see the progression because you want it and you know you can do it, but it's once every 4 years and you have one shot. So if something messes up, then you have to wait another 4 years and you might not be in the same situation 4 years later. So for this to happen for him is fantastic. It's in his moment. It's his era. Like just complete all the stops. Just do it.
And it was like, you know, Ryan took that out so fast. He always has an amazing start.
Yes.
I think Ryan Murphy and his underwaters are unbelievable.
Yes.
Zhu Jiayu, underworld record pace at the 50, Thomas Ceccon on the touch. You know, they were all in it, and it was back and forth, literally from start to finish, which made it exhilarating, right?
It did, and I was so excited for Zhu. I've watched him during World Cups, and I've seen his underwaters and just the dominance he's had and holding the world record. And then once again, like we do in sports, it's a roller coaster. So back to the struggling and trying to get, but it's the fighting spirit when you're down here. I know I can be up here. I need to push through. I need to persevere. But it's the mental strength to get back up. So to see them back again and back on the podium and fantastic swim is such a great achievement.
So I want to touch on Ryan Murphy as well, because I mean, this was a big race for him, and he's also trying to set a record to become the first male swimmer to win medals in 3 consecutive Olympics in both the 100 and 200 meter, backstroke. So he'll need a big race on Monday, and I'm excited to see that.
I am excited. I grew up a little bit before, but Aaron Pearsall, phenomenal backstroker, and to see them continue again now with Ryan Murphy, who has been so dominant. He's one of those that you just never count out. If he's in lane 1 or 8, no matter where he is, you can't count him out. And he's shown that today. In the prelim semifinals, he's been there. But then this final, he's like, this is my last shot. Give it all you got. My name is Ryan Murphy. I'm going to show you that.
My name is Ryan Murphy.
And he showed it. Like, that's it. Oh, beautiful swim for him.
The next race of the night, of course, was a big one. I'm going to pass this off to you, ALIA. The women's 100-meter breaststroke was your race. Take it over.
Beautiful swim. We saw Tatjana fantastic in prelims, semifinals, same time, 1:00.00, and then coming back with adding 0.28. But it doesn't matter about the time in the finals, just getting your hands on the wall. And if you guys watch this race, you're going to see her about 3rd or 4th, coming home strong. But what I loved was Tang from China. She went out because she knew Tatjana has that 200 back speed. So if she did not go out, it would have been hard on the way back. So she took it out in a 29 going out. Really fast for her 100 split. And she's just like, you know what? Tatjana's gonna have to catch me. And that's exactly what happened. The last 3 strokes, we saw Tatjana just pick up her tempo and really drive it into the wall. And she has that stroke that just, she will out-touch anybody if she's that close to them. And that's what happened.
It was.
Oh my gosh.
And I tell you what, a big mention, a big shout out going out to Mona McCharry as well. I loved seeing her getting on the podium and the emotion she had as well. You know, Ireland, I think, is really coming along recently when it comes to swimming. We've got the likes of the Whiffen twins, you know, we've got Mona McCharry, we've got these people that are now medaling at Olympic level. And she looked so good out there in a stacked field.
Yep.
To finally get that bronze medal, like I've got chills. I love that moment for her.
Yes, I've seen her like circling around the area, but never on that podium. But I think it's a testament to where Ireland is going. So the amount of work they've put in for their athletes, trying to put them on as a priority, and we're seeing that now. Last time with Daniel, like everybody was fanatic and static and just crazy. But for that to come into now Mona, who has been working these last couple of years, truly phenomenal race for her. And for it to be that close, it was 0.01 from a 4th, which tied between Palazzo and Lilly.
I know.
Like, it was really close.
It was.
I know you were rooting for Mona, right? And I was in the stands rooting for Lilly King. She's from Indiana, so am I, alumni of my university. Go Hoosiers! But she ultimately placed 4th. Yeah. And I'm curious to know, do you feel like she may be past her prime?
Hard to say. I think prime is the same thing like that roller coaster. Some people think that you're really good as a teenager and suddenly you're struggling at 20s and they're like, oh, she's past her prime. No, she's back in her little thing and she's building. She's building until the time is right for her. But it's persevering through that. And because Lilly has been so fantastic throughout the last couple of years, it really is a choice. What else does she want to do? And if she still has that fire, then I'm sure she can come back for LA. No questions asked. But if not, then she knew that she did everything she can and it's time to go.
So that was the women's 100 breast, a big race. And then, of course, moving on to our final of the night was the women's 200 free. I sort of picked this as going to be one of the races of the week, and it did not disappoint. We had Erica Fairweather, Barbara Simonova, Siobhan Jorge, Claire Weinstein from the US, Mollie O'Callaghan, Ariarne Titmus. I mean, those ladies from Australia just on fire. It was so exciting. What a way to finish the night.
Yeah, we saw that from Australian trials. Like, this 200 is going to be phenomenal. And it really depends on who wants to overtake them, who wants to go out and see if they can catch them. And that's what Siobhan did. And I was so proud of her for doing that. Because she went out and it was only the last 25, 30 meters they caught her.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected because you had Ariarne Titmus running you down and Mollie, mate.
I mean, and to see Mollie do that was amazing as well. I know to do a 1-2 with your teammate Australia, but Mollie obviously, you know, world champion last year and got that world record. And then Ari sort of took a step in front of her and got the world record back and was always there. Then, you know, like you say, their finishing final 25 in that 200 is the best in the world. Beautiful. It's the best in the world. Wow. And Siobhan knew that.
She knew their coming back speed. Like Ariarne has that 400, possibly 800 if she wishes, and Mollie has that 100 sprint as well. So she knew what she had to do and she went out. Now, if I was Mollie or Ariarne, I'd be like, okay, she's going out fast. All right, don't let her get too far ahead of me because I need that 30 meters to catch her. But it's about knowing your race strategy and then mentally prepping, saying, no, this is my race, and believing that the whole way and then taking it when you need to.
How much do those moments where it's, you know, maybe you, your teammate, or, you know, you and a familiar face that you're constantly competing against fuel you in a competition like this?
I mean, a lot of the time they say you are the accumulation of your team. So if you're in a place where you're not growing, look at your team. Look who you're surrounded by. Look at their dreams and their aspirations and how much they train. And coming from that team, where I think he had a lot of athletes make it on this team. So the coach alone has created an atmosphere where they're competing against the world best. Every single day you're competing against the world best. When you come on this, it's nothing like, it's a practice swim. Not a practice swim, but you feel familiar.
And Dean Boxall has done a really good job there with that team, I think. And, you know, consistently, like they did it in Tokyo as well. You know, we're not really talking about that. Ariarne did this in Tokyo, and here we are 4 years later, and she's still there, still just as dominant. You know, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful to watch. And I'm an Aussie, so I'm living. I'm like, go. So that was the final of the night. Of course, a busy night of action. Let's take a look at your screens and we're going to have a look at the schedule. We're kicking off the night with the semi-final of the men's 100 meter freestyle. That is the blue ribbon event. The biggest names in the sport. Tony Irvin's been picking it all week as one of the races to watch. Men's 200 meter butterfly, the women's 100 meter backstroke. Now, we'll just touch on that quickly because that was, of course, Kaylee and Regan going head to head in that. They both looked super strong. I think there was like 0.06 between them in the semis. Yeah. Who's it going to be? The Aussies or the USA?
That everybody's going to be watching that, especially with the rivalry between USA and the Aussies. But I think Kylie Massey is very similar to that Ryan Murphy situation where you put her in a race and she's going to get on that podium. She's going to try her best. So definitely look for her to be in that mix as well. But I mean, it's anybody's chance to make a name for themselves.
I love it, you know, and I just have to say that we've only got 4 countries in that. We have 2 from USA, 2 from Canada, 2 from Australia, and of course, 2 from France. So that is not only going to be a fast final and a fun final, it's going to be a loud. Yeah, so there's that, of course. We then move into the men's 800 meter freestyle. We got some of the biggest names in that as well. Dan Whiffett, Ahmed Jody, Bobby Fink, Gregorio Paltrinieri, Elijah Winnington, David Avery for the French. But I think we should mention that a lot of big names missed out on that final. No Romanchuk. No Wellbrock, you know, big names.
Big names.
And no Sam Short, he was world champion last year.
I think this is what we're seeing again, is that changing of the guards. A lot of, when we're looking at this 800, a lot of familiar names, but a lot of newcomers as well, and a lot of younger ones as well. So we're seeing just the progression of how this 800 is going to change looking for 2028, but it'll be interesting. The old versus, not the old.
Oh my God. Don't say that.
Oh my God. I am old, not you guys. It's the experience versus the passionate. It's going to be exciting.
The rookie
is what I'm
versus
trying to say.
the vet.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Bailey.
Beautiful.
We then, of course, move into the women's 100 meter freestyle. We've got the men's 200 meter breaststroke and finishing with that men's 4x2 freestyle relay.
I'm excited to see the athletes who are coming back again that maybe didn't achieve their goal in that first round and be like, okay, this is another chance, a new day. This is my time. So you're going to see a different type of athlete come out for their second swims.
All right, to close out the night, thank you so much for being here with us in the studio, and join us again for another episode of About Last Night.